There's no great genius, as Aristotle says, without some touch of madness. My guest today for sure stands true to this quote. Her information, knowledge, and eloquent style of speech personifies this quote. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my college time friend from Miranda House, who I lovingly call a walkie-talkie encyclopedia. Today she holds a very high position in Indian Railways after giving her civil services. Her grace and knowledge still is as sparkling as it was way back in 1990. I'm proud to be in conversation today with Amita Prasad Sarbhai. Welcome Amita, and I'm so happy to have you on my show Beauty Express.
I'm equally glad and delighted to be on the show, Radhika. I have been a witness to your journey to Mrs. India and Mrs. Asia Pacific, and I can't tell you how proud I am of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So Amita, we are here discussing on women. We just celebrated Women's Day.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why not just introduce you to my viewers and talk about your journey as a woman.
First of all, I'm really thankful and feel privileged that you've chosen me to...
My honor that you've come here.
Tell about my journey, and if my journey inspires even one little girl sitting somewhere, you know, I'm watching this video to enter the civil services, I would really think, you know, my mission has been accomplished.
Wow. So my first very obvious question, we are celebrating Women's Day.
Right.
What does Women's Day mean to you?
See, there has been a lot of debate recently as to whether, you know, we should have days like Women's Day. You do find, you know, a lot of jokes also going around on this day. You know, people say that it is just basically, it has become commercialized. You know, people have started celebrating it as a day for shopping,
right,
and, you know, women being gifted spas and all. But Women's Day goes much, much beyond this.
True.
The genesis of Women's Day was basically an assertion, you know, in the beginning of the 20th century,
right,
by the women, especially in the Western world, you know, trying to assert their rights and trying to bring to the notice of, you know, the leaders, both in the, you know, political as well as social field.
Correct.
As to why, you know, women should not be given equal rights.
Voting rights.
Yeah, voting rights. It started with basically the
voting rights, yes.
And all. And then it moved on, you know, to better facilities at workplace, then getting equal participation, gender pay scale parity, then moving to the violence being perpetrated, you know, against women and all.
Correct.
And so that is why, you know, there was
that is how like it all started.
Yeah, and in 1975, you know, when the United States, basically it started as a socialist movement.
Correct.
But the fact that
but where do you see now in the 21st century when we are celebrating?
Yeah.
So how do you perceive Women's Day? Like as you said that we are gifting them spas and all. So is that what the concept of Women's Day in today's time is?
Unfortunately, yes. But at the same time, I feel such days are very important because it allows us, you know, to just take one day on which we reassess as to how much we have achieved and how much is still left to achieve, because that journey of really being empowered, you know,
right,
is still a long way to go, especially in countries, you know, like India. Even in developed countries, you know, there are a lot of gender pay parity is still not there.
Correct.
In most developed countries also. So I feel this journey of empowerment for women, not only women, I feel for children, even for men. You have an International Men's Day also.
Correct.
But people are not, it's on November 19th, people are not aware of it because people say, you know, men really don't require.
No, now men are kind of becoming.
They do require. But then they too have their health issues, their depression is a very big thing.
Right.
They do have their, you know, different issues which are there for men also. So I feel there should, if there are days for you know, for women, if there is a day for men, even for children also you have
Children's Day, yes.
These days are meant basically for reassessing as to what you've achieved and how much is still left to be achieved.
Wonderful.
So that is the reason, you know, why these days have been made. But making it, you know, into a commercial thing, you know, that basically you gift spas and give gifts to women on this day, and that is Women's Day. I feel that is basically you losing the
essence
real
the
essence
entire
of what it stands for.
Absolutely. So I'll come back to that on whatever, like, gender inequality that you've spoken about. But before that, I would want the viewers to know a little bit about your background, your childhood, your schooling, your college, everything, and how you reached the civil services.
Well, Radhika, I come from family. Basically, my family belongs to Bihar.
Okay.
And I'm a Kayast, So
Okay.
Kayast, education is the main thing.
Essence.
And
okay.
usually most Kayast you find in government service.
Right.
So that is what the tradition in the family had also been.
Okay.
That till my grandfather was also in the police. My father was a civil servant. He retired 15 years back. A lot of my uncles were also in the same service.
Wow.
So entering the civil services came as a natural choice for me.
Okay.
Being the firstborn, it was like I was a flag bearer, and I feel very grateful, to my parents for having made this choice for me when I was still a child.
So you spent your entire childhood in Bihar?
I was just born in Bihar.
Bihar, okay.
Because and my father had a transferable job.
Right.
So we stayed all over India. So I feel, my personality, though I am Bihari by birth, but I have
a very cosmopolitan
of, so many states in me. I moved 7 schools. So,
wow.
But I finished my schooling in Calcutta.
Okay.
So my last 4 years were in Calcutta and Kolkata now. And the foundation of my personality, or what I would say, the foundation has been maybe laid in different states, but the finishing was done
in Kolkata. Okay.
And the school there gave me a lot of opportunities, to really evolve my personalities.
Right. Fine. So, how many brothers, sisters are you?
I'm the eldest. We are 3 siblings. So, I have a younger sister. She's a chartered accountant.
Oh, wow.
And she's based in London. And
great.
My brother is a software engineer. He's based in Dallas, US.
Oh, so you're the only one in India here?
Yeah, right now.
Correct. So, the elder 2 siblings are the...
No, I'm the eldest.
Okay, you are the eldest. Right. Okay, and your brother is the youngest?
My brother is the youngest. I have a sister in the middle.
Okay. So since you've already spoken about that you hail from Bihar.
Yeah.
And 2 sisters, the first 2 born of your mom.
Yeah.
So did your mother had to face any kind of, issues that she has given birth to 2 girls?
See, thankfully in my family, this was not too much of an issue. There would have been, yes, the hope for a grandson was always there. Maybe, but my grandmother, both my grandmothers and my Baba died very, early when my father was still a very small child.
Okay.
So my Dadi or my Nani or my Nana, I don't think they ever made us feel that, we were granddaughters and, we were less than anybody else, and neither did my parents make us feel.
So that's like really great on your parents' part, that they have been so broad-minded in their outlook. So Amita, you've spoken about your childhood. So during your childhood days, who was your role model?
I think I had enough in my family, Radhika. To start with, like I told, my Dadi, in fact, she became a widow at the age of 30 with 5 children. The youngest one being a toddler, and I think she was a really strong lady. The way she faced all the adversities in life. My mother, she got married at a very young age. I was born when she was just 20. But she continued studying after that. Even she appeared for her post-graduation when my sister was to be born.
Okay.
And when, you would not know, but when I was doing my college, we did encourage her to do her B.Ed.
Wow.
And she worked after that.
Oh.
So she and me, we used to travel to college together. She for her B.Ed classes and I for my
awesome.
Graduation, post-graduation classes. And I think, both my grandmothers and my aunts and my mother, you know, they have been, and my own sister now, you know,
Right.
the way she manages her family in London with 2 kids, my sister-in-law in US, you know, I feel I have enough role models all around me. You now.
Oh
of
my
course.
God, thank you. I'm honored.
I feel, you know, I really don't have to look outside in the world, you know, to really find my role models. My mother-in-law, after I got married, because she was one lady who really was all for women working
Wow.
and being financially independent, and so
Oh.
I think I would always also list her, and my Jithani, who's also a gynecologist, is working really. I call them the superwomen in my life.
Okay, so when you joined civil services,
Right.
as a woman, was there any kind of gender bias did you face during that time?
In fact, Radhika, civil services is one profession where I feel, you know, the gender bias is absolutely not there.
Okay.
In fact, in my service, which is the Indian Railway Account Service, we have quite a lot of, you know, women presence, and we have women, you know, in all aspects of civil services, whether they're the IS and IPS. In railways we have the engineers now. You know, earlier engineers, there would hardly be any women,
Right.
but now even in railways and in the engineering services, we have so many women.
Right.
And in my own service, Railway Account Service, you know, we have a joke that if you read it backward, IRA spells a sari. You know, that is the number, so many number of women we have in my service.
Right.
So we've had financial commissioners, you know, who have been women. So I don't think, you know, that is, in fact, civil services has really allowed me to, you know, not face any kind of gender disparity, or at least any disparity on account of gender.
So nothing did you ever face right from the word go till date?
Yes, right from our training days till date, I have not faced.
And all orders?
All opportunities which have been given to men in my service have been provided to the women also.
And when you give orders to your juniors who are males, they take you very seriously?
Yes, they do. It all depends on how you conduct yourself.
Right.
I feel.
Irrespective.
And plus, I feel now, you know, they have seen so many, you know, women officers that taking orders from a woman is
Boss,
no longer
okay.
an issue. Maybe in very small areas or very small cities or towns where maybe that mentality would still be there. But otherwise, I have not faced that issue till now.
Okay, that's very nice. Okay, Amita, so we've spoken about your professional life. Now coming to your personal life. How did marriage happen? Did you know your husband before, or was it an arranged marriage? What was it?
It was an arranged marriage, Radhika.
Okay.
And you know, basically it was a little strange arranged marriage because my parents never met him till the date of the engagement. In fact, I was encouraged to go and meet him separately.
Oh.
all alone.
All alone? Oh, wow.
And the decision was totally left to me.
Acha.
So in a way, it was an arranged marriage, but the choice was totally ours.
Oh, okay. So Amita, touch wood that you've been very lucky, as I see through your conversation. As a daughter, you've had very supportive and very encouraging parents.
Yes.
You have very supportive, encouraging in-laws also, and a very cooperative husband as well. But one message that you would like to give to the viewers, especially the women who are mothers-in-law, and young girls who are yet to take up a career and get into a new life?
I would only say, you know, that there's a very old Chinese proverb which says that, you know, women hold up half of the sky, but I feel that women not only hold up half the sky, they hold up more than share of half of the sky. They are, you know, equal contributors at home, they're looking after work, at workplace, they're bringing up children, they are supporting their husbands. Even, you know, now we have extended families and
True.
friends and all being support system to them. So I feel, you know, in the midst of all taking up all these responsibilities, women need to really take care of themselves also, their own mental and physical health also. And I feel the most important tool which any woman should have is education.
True.
And knowing their rights. These are the two things which every woman must know.
Must have.
And every woman should try to be financially
Financially independent. I was about to add that, and you've already added.
Yes. So that is
Financial independence is very important.
In today's age.
Yes.
You might do a very small kind of thing. You might work from home.
True.
Or even if you're a homemaker, I feel, you know, there is always something after your kids grow up. Keep yourself engaged in something productive.
And I think that also keeps you, somewhere feeling secured.
Yes.
When you're financially independent, then you feel much more confident about your own self, and you feel very secured otherwise.
So even if you're a homemaker, I've seen once kids grow up, go out. I think keeping yourself productive,
right,
is
more important.
Engaged, mentally engaged. That is
also very important
for all women.
As they say, that idle mind is devil's workshop. Though by no way do I mean that.
And of course, education. I feel, being educated is the biggest asset which you can have. So that education should not stop at a certain level. You can keep educating yourself even at a later age also.
So true. Just like your mom.
Yeah, like my mom.
Yes.
So that is it.
So wonderful having you over, Amita, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you, Radhika. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching us.